I invite you to remain standing as I invite Miss Nastasia Nunez to come and to open in prayer, please.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to have life, that we are able to all assemble here today on this momentous occasion. We ask that your presence be with us and may everything be done unto your honor and glory as we open the ceremony to serve the senior citizens of our nation. In your name I pray. Amen.
Please be seated. Thank you. Again, a pleasant good morning to you all. My name is Andre Miller, and I have the privilege of taking you through what I believe is one of the most profound journeys that we can ever go through. This morning, I'd like to welcome you to the launch of Senior Citizens Week and the revised national policy for senior citizens. Of course, you know that seniors hold a very special place in our hearts and in our society, as they contribute significantly to the growth and development of Jamaica. I'd like to establish the protocols, and I recognize that there will be other speakers who will come and will share. But before I establish those protocols, as my grandmother would say, you have to have manners, not true? And so if you're sitting beside someone and you have not yet said to them good morning, you can say good morning to them at this time. But my grandmother would also encourage me to not be fake with my good morning. And so she would say to me that I shouldn't just say good morning, but if say morning to you. So look upon the person back at you and say morning to you. Wonderful. Because we're all neighbors and family here this morning. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Thank you. The Honorable Carl Samuda, the Minister of Labor and Social Security. Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Mrs. Cassandra Morrison, the Executive Director of the National Council for Senior Citizens. Mr. Wayne Henry, Director General for the Planning Institute of Jamaica. Mrs. Suzette Morris, Director for Social Security of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Mrs. Grace Ann Scarlett Duncan, Chairperson for the Board of the National Council for Senior Citizens. Mr. Tariq Ali, the gentleman who is new to the shores of Jamaica. We give him a special welcome as he has just arrived here in Jamaica. Very happy to have you here with us, sir. IDB Country Representative, Mrs. Portia Magnus Darby, the NIS Director. Mrs. Fancy Admon, Director of Public Assistance Division in the Ministry. Mrs. Genevieve Edgar Salmon, the PRMU unit in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Members of the board of the NCSC, Mrs. Marika Brown-Bailey, Mrs. Mary Clark, and Pastor Carl Cunningham. Stakeholders, Mrs. Jean Laurie Chin, co-founder and Chief Executive Officer of the Caribbean Community of Retired Persons, CCRP. From the NIDS NIDS, Mr. Richard Della Pena, PR and Marketing Manager. From the JCDC, Mrs. Veronique Bowen, I should say Her Majesty, Mrs. Veronique Bowen. Please stand, Your Majesty, and give us a royal wave. I think His Majesty the King should look out because we have one to represent us there in Britain. Festival Queen for 2022, Jamaica, celebrating our independence this year. Mrs. Marian McFarlane from the KSA board member and the JCDC. Mrs. Shelley-Ann Edwards from the PIOJ and Mrs. Colette Robinson from the PIOJ. Other specially invited guests, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all, and it's indeed a pleasure to be here. Our program for this morning is a short one, but though short, it has significant substance. And the National Council for Senior Citizens, as it celebrates under the theme, Aging Jamaica, Epitomizing Resilience and Greatness, We welcome you heartily. We welcome you as we come back together. But we welcome you recognizing that our seniors have a significant role to play. And to give us a bit more on the work of the council and the worth of the council as a critical pillar in our national development, I'll invite at this time Mrs. Grace Ann Scarlett Duncan, the NCSC Board Chairperson. Please make her welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Morning, ladies and gentlemen, Minister. Trust everyone is fine. On behalf of the board and management of the National Council for Senior Citizens, I am extremely overwhelmed to get this opportunity to bring opening remarks at this significant event that is being held under the theme, Aging Jamaica, Epitomizing Resilience and Greatness. It is often said that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And today, I'm happy that you are helping us to create the future for all of us, because we intend to grow older. We also consider today as an important milestone and one that will demonstrate solidarity for the vision that we are trying to achieve, which is a society in which citizens will live and participate actively, one that guarantees their rights, recognizes their capabilities and contributions, and facilitates their enjoyment of a life of fulfillment, health, and security. I am deeply honored to be a part of the Senior Citizens Celebration, and as we know, today would not be complete. Also, the Jamaica 60 celebrations would not be complete without acknowledging the contributions of our seniors who have paved the way for us and have also displayed resilience and greatness that have instructed our destiny as a society. We are mindful of the challenges of an aging population, but also recognize the demographic dividends that are possible. Today, we will launch Senior Citizens Week and also the National Policy for Senior Citizens. It will signal the commitment of our leaders to ensure that more provisions will be in place to support our seniors. We want to ask you to, as best as possible, continue to support us. I know that the new country rep, Mr. Ali, you are anxious to give us grant resources to support the programs, but you can just wait a few minutes, right? We will approach you shortly. I know that you are no stranger to Jamaica, right? So welcome once more. And to our senior citizens online, continue to work with us, continue to raise your voice as you advocate for improvements, and of course, we will continue at the board level to support the policies the programs that will help us to achieve the outcomes under the policy. Today, the event is for you to enjoy. If you don't enjoy the event, we accept no liability. Ladies and gentlemen, please have a great day, and we're happy to have you here.
Thank you very much. We accept no liability. Indeed. Thank you very much, Chair of the NCSC Board. It's significant for us to be here, and it's a milestone and a monumental moment. Recently, when I heard a commentary where they indicated that Her Majesty the Queen's coffin or casket was built some 30 years ago, they interviewed one of the gentlemen who was instrumental in that process. And he said in his interview that though I am saddened, I am ecstatic that I was a part of a process that today showcases My Beauty to the World. Now, it was covered, but nonetheless, he was happy to be a part of it. And so, too, I want you to appreciate that you are a part of this new thrust of improving the policy that will augur well for programs and critical outputs and outcomes that will engender well for not just our seniors at present, but as the chairperson said, for all of us in the years ahead. We are aging, and so I'm very happy that we have a board and an exec director that is proactive enough to ensure that we all can age in Jamaica, the place of choice to live, grow families, do business, and retire. And I think it's important, therefore, for us to welcome at this time, as we look at the policy discussion, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, to bring greetings, Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden. Please make her welcome.
Mr. Master of Ceremonies, Mr. Andre Miller, our Minister, Honorable Carl Samuda, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, our new country representative, the media, and those joining us on social media, good morning and welcome to all this morning. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. It is indeed a pleasure to be sharing this space with you this morning for the launch of Senior Citizens Week and the revised policy on senior citizens. I must admit, the policy was tabled in Parliament late last year, but you know, we have had a number of ups and downs with respect to COVID, and now we are ready, in recognition of Senior Citizens Week, to have an official launch of our revised policy. This week is being celebrated under the theme, Aging Jamaica, Epitomizing Resilience and Greatness. Senior Citizens Week will entail several activities that will keep our seniors engaged and active throughout the week. But I must add that the council, the National Council, is not just focused on this week alone. We encourage all our seniors to become registered with the council and become active members. They do a lot. They have a lot of clubs, they have a lot of activities, and there's also registration, you name it, right? For the bus passes, and we help with persons being registered for NHF and JADEP and all the other benefits for our seniors. This week will commence with a national church service that will be held at the Webster Memorial United Church in Kingston. And later on, our grandparents will be recognized with an evening of entertainment at the pavilion at Hope Gardens. So bring out your grandparents and enjoy an evening with our seniors. Did you know that the month of September is actually a celebratory month for our seniors? This year, the council marks 46 years since its establishment in 1976. Today, we're not just launching the week, but we're also commemorating a lot of things that are happening in the month of September and today. But today, we're also commemorating World Alzheimer's Day, and the council is presenting a webinar that will be streamed live on the ministry's YouTube page. We have a lot of things planned, right? Beyond all of this, today marks a significant milestone for our seniors in Jamaica, and consequently, it marks an important day for us. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, the demographic, social, and economic landscapes that have impacted the lives of our senior citizens have seen significant shifts. In 2015, the elderly population was 12.6%, and this group is projected to increase to 22% by 2050, and we'll see how close we'll be after this year's census. This is the fastest growing segment of the population, and therefore it is important for us to, as a ministry and as a government to recognize the importance of our seniors and to do what we can to ensure that our seniors that have contributed during their youth, that they are properly recognized and protected in the society. And therefore, the national policy seeks to increase the participation of our senior citizens within the society. The policy seeks to improve income security and social protection for our senior citizens. And this past year, last year, July, the government launched a social pension program, which is part of the thrust, the policy thrust of the government to improve the situation of our seniors. In closing, I wish to thank the team from the National Council for Senior Citizens that have been doing significant work in promoting the interests of our seniors. I want to also thank and acknowledge the role of the Planning Institute of Jamaica in working with us to revise, develop the new policy for senior citizens. So thank you, Dr. Henry, and thank you to your team. I challenge all of us to look out for our seniors because God knows we're all praying to become seniors one day. I know I am. Let us help the Council to fulfill its mission in meeting the challenges of a growing, healthier, and more active senior citizens population, and to facilitate continued participation of our seniors in family and all spheres of society. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Permanent Secretary. Such important points for us to note, and you hear the musical cue, that means we'll get up and dance. All right, so we're going to turn our attention now to an audio-video presentation that will look at the rights of older persons. Please sit back and enjoy. You might be wondering if you're losing your hearing. No, it's not the case. The audio has not chipped in as yet, so you're not senior.
Of people aged over 60 since 1950, we can see that the proportion of older people as part of the broader population is increasing everywhere. The size of the bubble represents the actual number of people aged over 60. Whilst this change happened gradually and over many decades in countries like Australia and the United Kingdom, this demographic shift is happening much faster in low and middle income countries such as Brazil and India, with most countries rapidly reaching the same percentage of older people as high income countries. Our human rights do not change as we get older and populations age. Let's look at some examples. Almost half of older people globally do not receive a pension, rising to 3 out of 4 in low and middle income countries. For many of those who do receive a pension, the benefit level is often low and inadequate. People aged over 60 account for 71% of deaths from non-communicable diseases in low and middle income countries, yet global targets and indicators actively exclude older people by focusing on younger age groups. In these countries, more than 43% of older people live with a disability as a result of an accumulation of health risks from disease, injury, and chronic illness across the life course. Older people experience different types of violence and abuse. Yet data is often only collected about women up to the age of 49. Older people are disproportionately impacted during emergencies. Only 2% of humanitarian expenditure responds directly to older people's needs. Older people are being denied the long-term support and assistance they need. Only 5.6% of the world's population lives in a country with national legislation, providing universal entitlements to long-term support and assistance. The current international human rights system has failed older people. Age discrimination is only explicitly prohibited in 1 out of the 9 UN human rights treaties. Older people continue to be subjected to ageism and discrimination and denied their rights. Protecting and promoting older people's rights in national laws and policies and in a potential new UN Convention on the Rights of Older Persons can change this. To create a world where we all enjoy our rights, whatever our age and at every stage of life.
Please, a round of applause for that presentation. Again, demonstrating the importance of integration in the socio and economic inclusion for all persons, especially our seniors. We have to ensure that we integrate them. Might I ask you to pause with me for a second to recognize the pioneers of 46 years of hard work and of the recognition that seniors have a critical role to play. We have today our social workers and members of staff. I'm going to ask them to stand, of the National Council. Just please stand for a minute. I want to just acknowledge you and your hard work. Please. A very small team with a very huge mandate. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for all that you do. We know it rough sometimes, we know it tough sometimes, but you still stick to it. And I'm going to thank you someday because I'm getting older. I'm getting older. I don't look as young as the minister, but I'm getting older. I'm getting older. I'm going to invite a gentleman who seemingly never ages. It doesn't matter how many birthdays he celebrates. He still looks as young and vibrant and chirpy as he was back in the 1919. I won't age him. Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General of the PR Planning Institute of Jamaica. Please make him welcome as he comes to share brief words.
Mr. Andre Miller, Master of Ceremonies, the Honorable Carl Samuda, Minister of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Colette Roberts-Risden, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Grace Scarlett Duncan, Board Chairman of the National Council for Senior Citizens, the NCSC, Mr. Tariq Ali, Country Representative of the Inter-American Development Bank, the IDB, Mrs. Cassandra Morrison, Director of the NCSC, Ms. Veronique Bowen, Jamaica Festival Queen 2022. Members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Good morning. You know, a senior citizen came in a store and she asked the attendant, can I get half a head of lettuce? And the attendant said, ma'am, we don't sell lettuce by half the head. We can give you a small head of lettuce to accommodate you. She said, don't give me any chat. I want half a head of lettuce. He says, ma'am, I'm just explaining the store policy. She said, let me speak to the manager. And so he goes to the manager, doesn't realize that the lady followed him. And he said to the manager, sir, some idiot want to buy half a head of lettuce. And when he said the lady, and this nice lady want the other half. Let me say, people are at the core of development. This is one of the fundamental underpinnings of Vision 2030 Jamaica, our country's long-term development plan, and our vision for shared development. The population estimates over the more recent decades continue to reinforce the dynamic phenomenon of aging, where the child population as a percentage of the total population shrinks, while the proportion of older citizens grows at a faster rate. With the latest estimates indicating 21.1% for the child population, 69.3% for the working age, and 9.6% for persons 65 years and older, it is clear that the society must embrace the demographic transition that is proceeding and prepare itself to empower and accommodate older citizens as part of the development process. Ironically, as the population ages, there are many elements of social policy that are themselves moving towards maturity, and these dynamics need to be synergized. A significant area of progress over time has been in social protection, where previously ad hoc and disconnected approaches have given way to greater integration based on changing philosophies and conceptual underpinnings of its role in social stability and growth. Today, as we salute the immeasurable value and potency located within the capabilities and energies of our older citizens, there is a parallel recognition of how much potential Jamaica has for building resilience and sustainability across various arenas of social development. The new national policy for senior citizens recognizes the worth and input of older persons within their families, community, and wider society. Senior citizens are active and productive leaders in many aspects of our society, as you heard Permanent Secretary Roberts Risden outline, and their contribution to community life, culture, politics, productivity, and advocacy is invaluable. The policy underscores this and promotes an environment that will facilitate, enhance, and protect the rights of senior citizens through responsive, respectful, and integrated programs and provisions. The entire society finds its role within the comprehensive framework established in this revised and modernized policy, and the responsibilities of government, private sector, non-government and community organizations, and families are clear and irrefutable. The PIOJ has remained a committed partner in the planning and development space, actively supporting the Ministry of Labor and Social Security in its focus on senior citizens, including those persons with disabilities. This is indeed a proud juncture today. However, greater challenges lie ahead of us, and the entire society will need to put its energies and resources behind the implementation of the comprehensive policy statements that have been consensually determined. Only then will we simultaneously achieve our vision and development targets, as well as reap the opportunities that are arguably far greater than any negatives brought about by the aging phenomenon and demographic transition. An aging Jamaica can be a more mature, resolved, productive, and resilient nation, the envy of our region, and an example to the world. Indeed, we can become the place of choice to live, work, raise families, and do business. The PIOJ congratulates the Ministry of Labor and Social Security and extends best wishes for a successful Senior Citizens Week 2022. Thank you very much. God bless you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Director General. Thank you. So it's important for us to acknowledge the inextricable link. I'd probably pause at this time to ask our colleagues to join me at the table, if you so desire, so that we can ensure that those online get an opportunity to see you. Face to face. We want to also welcome our friends and members who join us via the World Wide Web on the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's YouTube page. Welcome to you, and we're very happy that you're able to join us despite it being from a distance. So you would have heard much talk about the work and worth and what is happening with the National Council for Senior Citizens. And indeed, you will agree with me that culture plays an important role, and many of our seniors today are at the center of the cultural explosion that has become Jamaica's rich cultural heritage over the years. Many contributed to fighting against the grain and battling the status quo to ensure that Jamaica's culture is fully embraced. And so at this time, I think it's appropriate for us to switch things up a little and to invite the Tivoli Dance Troupe to come as they give us a presentation. Please make them welcome.
Jesus. Hallelujah. This train is about to leave. Non-stop to heaven. Make sure you have your ticket. And you're ready waiting. You better have ticket. Don't show me your ticket. You want it was ticket. You sanctify ticket. To ride on this train. This train is about to go up to heaven. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. You better have your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now. One train to heaven gate. One train to heaven gate. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train to heaven gate. Don't you want me a ticket? You want it was ticket. You sanctify ticket. You never no ticket. You ride on this train. This train is a goal. You go up to heaven. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. You better get your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now. One train to heaven gate. One train to heaven gate. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train to heaven gate. No other worker, no fornicator, no child molester, no hypocrite. Come on this train, this Holy Ghost train, this sanctified train, this heaven-born train. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train. Hallelujah, oh Jesus. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. Show your ticket. Better have your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now. Don't show me your ticket. Don't show me your ticket. Don't remember ticket. Your sanctified ticket. To ride on this train. This train is a boat. To go up to heaven. Don't show me your ticket. You want it was ticket. Your sanctified ticket. You better have ticket. To ride on this train. Try to miss this train. You will never get another one. Last train to heaven gate. Last train to heaven gate. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. You better have your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now. One train to heaven gate. One train to heaven gate. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train to heaven gate. Don't you want me your ticket? You want it was ticket. You sanctified ticket. You never no ticket. You ride on this train. This train is a goal. You go up to heaven. Oh Jesus. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. You better get your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now. One train to heaven gate. One train to heaven gate. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train to heaven gate. No other worker, no fornicator, no child molester, no hypocrite. Come on this train, this Holy Ghost train, this sanctified train, this heaven-born train. If you miss this train, you never get another one. Last train. Hallelujah, oh Jesus. The train is on the main line. The train is on the main line. Train is on the main line now. Show your ticket. Better have your ticket. You better have your ticket. Better have your ticket now.
Thank you.
Don't show me your ticket. Don't show me your ticket. Don't remember ticket. Your sanctified ticket.
That was 30 years of history and culture on display right before us. A round of applause again for the Tivoli Dance Troupe. You know, two things I'll say. The other day, I was at the UN headquarters for a meeting, and I was asked to chair a function. And when I looked at the program, it was a lot of conversation, a lot of talking. And I said to the organizer, so, warm to the cultural item, warm to the little dance, the little singing, the little... And I remembered, okay, I'm not in Jamaica, yeah? But it's important that, you know, and the government must be commended, administrations, you know, because of how we have kept our culture alive. And it happens in functions like these, where we come and we get to see our young people doing what they do very well and keeping their hands to the wheel and engaging in our process. So one more time for just our culture and the Tivoli Dance Troupe. And even as our culture remains alive and well, I think one of the agencies that we must give 100% credit for ensuring that Jamaica's culture remains rich is the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission, the JCDC. Indeed, they displayed, please go ahead. Jamaica 60 was well organized, and we can truly say we're a proud nation, having celebrated 60 years. So Britain said bye-bye to the Queen the other day, and we will now say welcome to our Queen, our Festival 2020 Queen, Miss Veronique Bowen. Please make her welcome.
Thank you so much. Those are the sentiments I've been getting recently. What am saying? The Queen is dead. The Queen is not dead. The Queen is here. Thank you so much. Please allow me to acknowledge the protocols previously set and proceed by saying good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me. It gives me great pleasure to bring remarks this morning to be able to speak with you on the theme Aging Jamaica, Epitomizing Resilience and Greatness. And I must admit that one of the reasons I am so elated to be here is because I've always had an affinity for the elderly. So while persons within my generation were, sharing sentiments of them being old and miserable, that's the common notion, I have always appreciated their experience and their wisdom. And I tell anyone who lived prior to Jamaica gaining independence are usually my favorite people to talk to, because I can get the experience, I can juxtapose what happened then versus what's happening now, and it's usually very fulfilling for me. So I'm grateful to be here. On another note, research has confirmed for some time that Jamaica is an aging population. We're getting there. And what that means is that the bulk of our people are now ages 60 and over. And as a nation, we have a responsibility to cater to our people. Therefore, the policies that we're setting, the legislations, and so much more need to be geared towards these people. Now, my question is, are we doing anything at all in that regard? Are we doing anything to ensure that the older people, the senior citizens in our society, are catered for? And my answer is absolutely, yes, we have been. And although I have not been around for a little over 2 decades, research, and I have seen personally, where we have grown tremendously as a society. We have developed, we have been enhancing the quality of life and the opportunities available to the older people within our society. And I must laud the government on what they have been doing, successive governments rather, on what they have been doing in that regard. So for example, we heard about the social pension program recently, or earlier, which caters to those who may not have a pension in place. We have seen also improvements in access to medical drugs. We have seen legislations to protect their assets, golden age homes, and just so much more. But do you agree that there's always room for improvement? You do, right? Absolutely. So do I. And as a result, I believe we can do more as it relates to, advocating for their rights, catering to them. There's always room for improvement. And I'm not excluding myself from this at all. In fact, I have identified one way in which I can do something for the elderly. So I remember thinking that ageism was just this one-way street where the young people are not being given the opportunities because we're young and we don't have the experience, so we're not getting the job, and that's ageism. And that was it for me. Until I personally witnessed ageism on the other side of the table, where someone was being told that, no, you're too old. You can't get this opportunity. You can't do this. You shouldn't be here. You are too old. And as a result, I am challenging myself to challenge those within my generation and to those after me, whoever looks up to me, to dismiss that notion of ageism, to dismiss the idea that life stops when you reach to 60 or over. I want to ensure that those people within my generation understand that empowerment doesn't stop when you get to age 60 or 65 or 70 or 75, right? So to reiterate, I will definitely be playing my part to encourage my peers who look up to me to ensure that we do what we can to include the elderly, as I believe that our little will be the contribution towards epitomizing resilience and greatness among our senior citizens. Thank you.
Thank you very much to our 2022 Festival Queen Veronique. Thank you so much. My friends, when I remember as a parent of young children, my daughter was ill for a little while, and my first reference point was to purchase all the medications necessary. And my mother said to me, "Oh, you buy all the medication there for man. Come, bring the little girl, come." And she mixed up something of sorts. And I kid you not, PS Minister, in 2 days, my daughter was well. I would have spent a tremendous amount of money, which I did, because I'm a picnic and I want she well, on all these pharmaceuticals. Not saying that we shouldn't, but as we talk about an age in Jamaica, we must remember that our seniors are great, and them know resilience, them know how to turn them on and make fashion. And so there is a role that they play in this process. Yeah? So we definitely want to ensure, and I want to challenge all our seniors, tell your story. Let your voices be heard. Get active. Be a part of the process of change. Age is just a number, and that's it exactly. And so we're going to switch things up again. I'm going to invite at this time our colleague Orville Bagger-Case to come and to render an item of entertainment. Please make him welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Master of Ceremonies. God is good, and all the time. That is great. My name is Bagger Case, as the MC said, and the Master of Ceremonies. And I'm about to sing a song that is really a prayer. I'd like to bless the place, ladies and gentlemen. Heavenly Father, creator of all things, I humble myself as I bow to your throne. Oh, I pray for love, joy, peace, and a happiness to be present in my home. Lord, what I do, let the Holy Spirit dwell in my heart and in my mind. Please give me strength, 'cause I'm a little weak sometimes. I need help just to see me through. Heavenly Father, best Father of all, to you I bring the glory, and on my knees I fall. and understanding. To you my praise I bring, to you my song I sing, and I will do my part, help in the kitchen, so the world will know who is to blame for all the wrongs. I pray that you will be done, and let your light shine, let it shine and understanding, let it shine down to mankind. Cause the final days over time. Heavenly Father, King of all kings, oh, I pray for the sick and the weak ones too. Yes, I do. And for all of those who are strong, let them know their purpose, let them be agents for you, let them work for you, let the Holy Spirit walk across the waters of a mind. I want to make you proud of what you've done. So I come to you through your Son, Heavenly Father. Oh, I pray that you will be done. I pray for peace and love, for the vindication of your holy name. But I pray for peace and love, for the vindication of your holy name. But I pray, you know, oh, I pray for peace, love, and understanding. Oh, to rid of crime in our country. Oh, I pray sometimes I get down on my knees and I pray. Oh, I pray. Come on, let's teach your children how to pray. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much. You would agree with me that Bagger going with a bag of things. Yes, yeah, man. Bagger going with a bag of things. Bagger is that neighbor that you want beside you. That whenever you're on your veranda and him just start sing, you can enjoy yourself. And in the background, you listen to Ralston Mackenzie on the Sunday. What's it called again? Sunday Contact. So you hear Bagger sing in the background and you listen to Ralston Mackenzie. You saw me talk about a long time around old people, and I love them. Seniors are important. Thank you again, Bagger. Wonderful, wonderful vocal prowess you have. I'd also like to mention that in our midst, we recognize the importance of the community of persons with disabilities, and so we have an interpreter here providing interpretation services, and I think Jamaica is moving in the right direction, seeing more and more of this in our function. So thank you very much, and welcome to our friends with disabilities who are a part of today's function. Minister, I don't know if you can strike up a note. I don't know you to be a singer, you know, sir. I know you're a politician. But if you feel so led to sing a tune like Bagger, we open the floor for you. But nonetheless, friends, it's that time where we have come to hear from the esteemed minister who will share with us his thoughts, his well wishes, but most of all, his reflections as we move into Senior Citizens Week. Please help me welcome the Honorable Carl Samuda, the Minister of Labor and Social Security.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I would like to say how pleased I am to be in the presence of the distinguished folks who are up here and in the audience, and you all. Mrs. Duncan, I could not help but observe your very dignified and subtle movement to the music as it was being sung. You see, I can associate with that because I was doing the same thing. Dr. Wayne Henry, I should have perhaps started with my own partner in crime at the Ministry of Labor, my permanent secretary, Mrs. Resden. Welcome, Mr. Ali, the new representative of the IDB, Jamaica. And how happy I am to be part of a function like this where we can observe the rhythm and the beauty of the young people who performed here today. And I overheard the permanent secretary saying to Mrs. Duncan that it's about time we start having functions and inviting the older people to come and perform. You notice I don't use the word old people, the older people. And also, of course, our lovely Miss Bowen, our festival queen, who gave a very nice speech. And I really enjoyed the music by my friend Orville. Ladies and gentlemen, it is really a pleasure for me, personally, to be here this morning with you in leading the celebrations that have been carefully planned and in recognition of our senior citizens. I'm particularly pleased to be sharing in this launch of the National Policy on Senior Citizens today and to announce plans for the National Senior Citizens Week, which will take place from today, September 21st to October 1, 22. A grateful nation and an appreciative government applaud the sterling contribution and service of our elders to the process of nation building and economic development, particularly in this year of our Diamond Jubilee celebrations, as we chart the journey towards another 60 years of independence. I thank our elderly Jamaicans for the skills, experience, and knowledge they have imparted over the years to enable the monumental task that we have been able to achieve against great challenges. I thank them for the lifetime they have given as dedicated parents, diligent workers, supportive grandparents, conscientious, law-abiding citizens, and even as investors, entrepreneurs, and risk-takers. Join me, ladies and gentlemen, in giving our senior citizens, particularly those gathered here today, a deserved round of applause for the work that they have done. Ladies and gentlemen, I too, as is fairly obvious, I'm enjoying life after 60. I really don't want to think of it as life after anything else beyond 60, because I feel as well now as I did when I was 60. I won't tell you how long ago that was. I am the minister with responsibility for this particular area. And I really speak with the rare voice of experience and familiarity in appreciating the special privilege and wonderful achievement which growing old brings. Long life and aging are privileges not enjoyed by everyone. And I congratulate our seniors who have reached this far and who continue to make the best of their lives. Data from the Planning Institute of Jamaica in 2012 showed that about 32% of all Jamaican households had a member who was over 60 years of age. That gives you an idea of how far it reaches into every family in Jamaica. You know, as a little boy growing up off Walton Park Road, I can recall vividly the challenges that I faced. I'm the product of unmarried father and mother, and I was brought up by my grandparents. And I owe at least 85% of who I have become to the wisdom and knowledge that was imparted by them to me. In addition to that, as I went on to school and reached university level, it was to an elder in my family, my uncle, well, uncles really, an aunt, and my father that I turned to for guidance. The contribution of persons who are senior in age cannot be measured simply by the fact that they have been on earth for that length of time. The impact that their teachings have had on the development of our population is oftentimes overlooked. So much so that we tend to be in a hurry to retire them. We tend to be in a hurry because we feel that they must leave the scene and make space for younger persons. I cannot see the wisdom in that in most cases. Not in all, but in most cases. Because a life well spent and reaching 60 and over, the level of wisdom that is contained in that human being should not be squandered by just simply walking away in the shadows and be forgotten. The skills that they have acquired over those years must be taught to the younger generation. And it must be taught to the younger generation in the place of work, not in some retirement home or living alone or being involved in things that don't interact sufficiently with young people where they get the opportunity to impart that knowledge. And so I question whether or not our policy of retiring persons who are able-bodied, intellectually energetic, who still have a lot to contribute, if only the facilities provided by government and business can enable them not only to use what they have acquired, but also to acquire new skills. In a digital community, it is time that we begin, PS, to start looking at ways that we can introduce our senior members of staff and even those who have retired to the use of computers, to be part of this digital community that is a must if we are to go forward in a very constructive manner. So I welcome this opportunity to be able to share with you and to congratulate you on the tremendous work that is being done. It's a lonely road at times, but we are all in this thing together, and we must share willingly, eagerly, and we must apply all our resources that are available to enhancing the quality of life that can be offered to persons who have either just retired or about to retire, so that their life continues to be a meaningful one, so that they can continue to feel a sense of fulfillment, especially if they are able to pass on their knowledge to the younger generation. During Senior Citizens Month, we will honor our older Jamaicans and the tremendous impact they have made in building Jamaica as we know it today. Our theme, Aging Jamaica, Epitomizing Resilience and Greatness, is a strong theme. It's strong and reflects the level of confidence that we have in going forward. It is very critical that more persons become sensitized to the tremendous effort that is being made through the Council, that more persons become involved and play their part in sharing these experiences. During the height of the COVID pandemic, for instance, by and large, it was to the grandmothers, the grandfathers, the uncles, the aunts, who were considered older persons, that we had to turn for care. Care of the young, care of the old. It is through that group of people that we were able to exhibit a level of resilience that has brought us to where we are today. That's a very concrete display of usefulness that we experienced, but we have a tendency in Jamaica to forget the most recent past, let alone things that occurred a lot earlier. So it is with these challenges in mind that I implore the Council to make sure that adequate preparation, working with the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, that these preparations are made to face the challenges that will confront us. Many feel that things have improved considerably since we have more or less got over the brunt of the COVID-19 fallout. But I can assure you, if it is not COVID-19, it'll be other challenges. And here again, we will have to call and rely on the experience and knowledge of persons over 65 to come to the rescue of Jamaica. This year, as we celebrate the 46th anniversary of the National Council for Senior Citizens. Use this opportunity to sincerely congratulate the board and staff of the council for serving our nation in this wonderful and selfless manner. Moving forward, we must ensure that senior citizens have the appropriate resources to maintain their independence and dignity as they stay connected to their communities. And it is in this regard that I implore not only the Ministry of Labor, but all ministries to reach out to provide the tools that will facilitate them to be able to use computers and new techniques in communicating and to imparting knowledge through their experience. Ladies and gentlemen, I made a commitment when I became minister that I would see to the completion of the process to revise the national policy for senior citizens, a task which was dear to the heart of the late Minister of Labor and Social Security, Honorable Shahini Robinson. I am proud to announce that the process has been completed, and today we will present to the nation a new, revised national policy for senior citizens. We are working towards creating a responsive program framework which strengthens the capacity of the National Council for Senior Citizens for the effective and efficient implementation of the policy. And we will actively engage all our stakeholders to deliver, monitor, and evaluate programs and initiatives. This is not a singular ministry effort. This has to be, we have to reach out to every sector in the society, both in the public and the private sector. We thank the many volunteers who support the work of the council and encourage others to join the movement, for it is vitally important to extend a spirit of solidarity in this effort. We are committed to the government's plan for healthy, active, and productive aging embodied in our vision that senior citizens live and participate actively in a society that guarantees their rights, promotes their responsibilities, recognizes their capacities and their capabilities and contributions, and facilitate their enjoyment of a life of fulfillment, health, and security. As partners in the social protection landscape, the ministry will promote and prioritize the support to older persons through the services that are offered through the ministry. The National Insurance Scheme, the advancement through the health and education path, various public assistance interventions, and the new social pension program are some of the areas within the ministry that will go a far way in bringing this to realization. But ladies and gentlemen, we all have a role to play collectively. We are all stakeholders as individuals, senior citizens, families, communities, businesses, government and non-government entities, policy and decision makers at every level, including the government. The government is but a part, it is not the whole. This revised national policy for senior citizens is now available on the website of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Please ensure that you get your copy. I encourage all Jamaicans to support and participate in the activities planned for the week ahead. This Sunday, September the 25th, we celebrate National Grandparents' Day, an emotional and significant day to commemorate, as far as I am personally concerned. I am the product of grandparents. Do something to make our grandparents know that we care and love them. And when I say grandparents, please don't believe that I'm being personal. I mean grandparents across the length and breadth of Jamaica. Ladies and gentlemen, as I close, I charge each of us to work towards building a Jamaica society where healthy relationships are fostered between older people and the youth. I therefore take great pleasure in declaring Senior Citizens Week duly launched and extend sincere wishes for a memorable, enjoyable celebration. Thank you and a happy Senior Citizens Week.
Thank you very much, Minister. Thank you very much. So it's the moment that we have been waiting for, which is the unveiling of the revised policy. And I'm going to invite members of the head table to flag the policy. And also, I'd like to invite our colleague, Mr. Ali from the IDB, to please join us. And Ms. Bowen, please join us. So I'm going to ask our photographers to assist us in ensuring that we're positioned. And Minister, you're going to be unveiling. So you will. All right, so we're just ensuring that we get everything together, our scissors. And you want to capture this moment for your own social media accounts. After you've taken this picture, then take a selfie so that we can know that you were also here. So we invite also a member of the Senior Citizens Council just to stand with us also. So guided by the photographers, we will allow the minister to lead the charge in the unveiling process. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. A historic moment. And as the minister said, we continue to do significant work to improve the lives of our seniors. Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. So we definitely know that for years to come, this would have been an historic moment. And as the minister said, you can visit the Ministry of Labor and Social Security's website for more information and to download and view the policy and to contribute to strengthening the document as we move on as a country. So thank you very much for the hard work put in, and thank you for sharing in this moment. I think it's therefore appropriate for me to invite, as I step away from the podium, the Executive Director, Mrs. Cassandra Morrison, to come and to move the vote of thanks. But as she comes, I'd like to express my own appreciation to you for being a wonderful audience. And I do hope that you will go back to your respective homes and give your grandmother, your grandfather, give the neighbor, somebody who is senior, a hug and appreciate them today, because they have made a significant contribution to Jamaica's development. Thank you. Mrs. Morrison.
Honorable Minister Carl Samuda, Minister of Labor and Social Security, Mrs. Roberts Risden, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, Dr. Wayne Henry, Director General of the Planning Institute of Jamaica, Mr. Tariq Ali, the country representative of the IDB, Ms. Velonique Bowen, our reigning festival queen, Mr. Bagger Case, and let me pause as well to acknowledge my own chairman and the members of the board of the National Council for Senior Citizens, our partners in advocacy, Mrs. Jean Lorichin from CCRP, and Dr. Ishkar Govaya from the Stride Jamaica Dementia Project, fellow directors of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security, our seniors, persons joining us on the various social media platforms, my very outstanding MC, and our friends from the youth groups of the Tivoli Dance Group. And may I also mention our participants from the Jamaica Association of Vintage Artists. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Is it still morning? Good morning. It is my pleasure to thank you for joining us. Your commitment to working with and for older people is remarkable, and I wish to acknowledge that. I also wish to acknowledge the tremendous work and contribution of each of you, and particularly with regards to the policy, the work of the ministry, my own support in terms of PS Risden and CTD Audrey Dare Williams, and Mrs. Colette Robinson of the Planning Institute of Jamaica and her team for the tremendous support in the revision process for the national policy for senior citizens. Ladies and gentlemen, we are happy to have a revised policy, but its successful implementation will require the support of every Jamaican, of every ministry, department, and agency, of every community group and every non-government organization, of every senior citizen and every young person. We are depending on your human capital and technical resources. There is no ministry, as far as I know, that ever gets enough budget that they can do all it is that they want to do. And so we know that we will be requiring your support in order for us to truly achieve an age-friendly society. And we look forward to that engagement and that collaboration. But let's begin this week. If you take a look at the screen and at the back on your way out, please collect a flyer. We invite you to join us in participating in the various activities planned for Senior Citizens Week. And we also encourage you in your own community, in your church, in your family, to be creative with your own activities that celebrate and honor senior citizens during this week. And I particularly want to remind you of Sunday, September 25th, which will be celebrated as National Grandparents' Day. So we are depending on you to do something really splendid for our grandparents this Sunday. And therefore, it is my pleasure to say to all senior citizens, everyone 60 and over, Happy Senior Citizens Week, Happy Grandparents' Day when it comes. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today, and have a wonderful rest of the day.
Much, Director. So as you go, we want to continue the opportunity to mingle and to greet and to share this information. So take a picture of the flyer and post it on your social media pages so that as many persons who need to know will be in the know. We can commit to that as a group. Thank you very much. And if you don't have a social media page, don't you worry. We can assist you in the process of establishing one. We have some refreshments, and so we invite you to prepare yourselves on the outside at this time. Thank you very much, and have a good rest of the morning. Okay, we're gonna take some pictures, so we invite some of our colleagues to remain in the room as we do that process. Thank you.